In my first scenario, I see the problem is here. PCA cannot connect to the web server. So I'm going to go ahead and open up PCA, go to the desktop, and open the command window. And let's just confirm that. So I'm going to type ping 192.168.20.10. That's the address of the web server. And it does look like we indeed cannot ping the web server. We got a timeout. If we get the second timeout, it's generally not going to fail. Maybe it could take a second because of ARP request, but it looks like we're failing here. So let's move on. And let me try to narrow this down. I don't want to troubleshoot and check everything. Let me see if I can ping my router and see what happens there. So next I'm going to go ping 192.168.10.1. And this will tell me whether the problem is in the blue area or the yellow area. If I can ping my router, then the problem's probably over here in yellow. But I'm not able to ping my router either, it looks like. So let me escape out of that. And let me just confirm the IP address of my PC, ipconfig. And I'll have to widen this window out, but it does. I see a default gateway. Yes, my PC does indeed have a correct IP address. So the next thing I can do is I can look at my router. So let me open the router, and I'll use the command show interface gig 000. Show interface gig 0/0/0. And if I'm looking at my router interface, I can scroll up here a little bit, and it says the interface is up, the protocol is up, but look here, my IP address is wrong. I imagine if I change that IP address, I'll fix everything. So let's just fix that real quick. Go into global config, and then interface config 4000, and then I'll do an IP address. 192.168.10.1, and the mask. And now we can go to PCA and test this again. Let's see what happens. It might take a second for everything to go through, so we'll be able to, here we go. And we are indeed pinging the web server. In scenario 2, we see that PCB cannot connect to the web server. So I'm going to take the scenario at its word. So the next thing I want to do is I want to see if I can ping my router, and I want to split this problem in half. So I'm going to ping 192.168.10.1. And a ping to my router is successful. So I know that my connections to my router, all of this is good. So let me try to see if I can ping the other side of the router at 20.1. So I'm going to just hit the up arrow and change that 10 to a 20. And it looks like I'm having trouble here. I'm not able to ping anything. I'm getting a timeout. We'll give it a couple more seconds and see what happens. I'm not able to ping 21. So let's go open up this router and take a look at it. And I've already got the command up here. Gigabit 00 show IP interface brief. Gigabit 001 is indeed 192.168.21, and it's up and up. So I'm at PCB, and now my situation is I can ping a local IP address, but a remote IP address I'm unable to ping. This is an address that's on another network. So that's a symptom of a default gateway issue. So let me go back to my PC and check my configuration on the PC, ipconfig. And I do indeed have a problem with the default gateway. I've told the PC that if it wants to send any data to a remote network, to send it to 1010 PCA. Well, PCA is not going to forward packets, so it's not going to do anything with it. So I need to change my default gateway to 192.168.10.1. In scenario 3, I see that PCB can print to printer A but not printer B. So that gives me a little bit of a hint. That tells me that PCB is connected to the switch properly, printer A is connected, but we have a problem getting to printer B, which incidentally is on a remote network. So let's take a look and first see if we can ping router 1 gig 000, 192.168.10.1. And it looks like we've identified the problem as being somewhere between PCB and router 1. So we know that this link is good, so it's probably this link between switch 1 and router 1. So let's take a closer look at that. So we can look at it from two spots. I'm going to go ahead and just work my way from the PC to the router. So I'll open up switch 1. And in switch 1, if I go into the command line, I can do show interface status, one of my favorite commands. And let's widen this out a little bit so we can see it all and see what's going on. And I see that ports 0, 1 through 4 are connected and they're in VLAN 10. And let's see the rest of this. And gig 01 is connected, but it's in VLAN 1, so we need to go ahead and fix that. There's a couple of ways I can do it. I can do it from the command line. Interface gig 0/1, switch port, WHIT, CH, PRT, access, VLAN 10. And if I wanted to do it from the physical configuration, I could do it also here, and I could have gone to gig 01 and changed the port right here. So now let's go back to PCB and see if it can ping other devices. It can ping, see if it can ping 01. It might take a second for the switch settings to take effect, so we got to be a little bit patient with this. Maybe I'll hit fast forward on it and try again. And I did indeed get my fourth packet went through. So let's try 20.6. And it might take a second because R1 might need to get an ARP request through here. So let's give it a little bit of time and see what happens. Still timing out. Okay, well I can ping 10.1, but I haven't quite gotten out to this other one, so let's try to ping 20.1. So let me just change that 6 to a 1, and I'm able to ping 20.1. So let's take a look at printer B and see what's up with printer B. And if I go to the config tab of the printer, I can see that my default gateway of the printer is 20.10, so we need to fix that also. We need to change the printer's default gateway to 20.1. And I can close that, and let's try one more time. 20.6. Okay, so now we're able to successfully ping printer B from PCB. In scenario 4, we see that PCA cannot connect to printer A. So this is a simpler problem because we don't have to worry about anything in VLAN 20. We have a problem between PCA, the switch, and printer A. So while I'm in the PC, let me just go ahead and do an IP config and make sure that my IP address and subnet mask is correct. And indeed it is. So now let's take a look at the switch. And in the switch, I can do the command show interface status. And let's widen this out and take a good look at all of the ports on the switch. And what we're looking for is to make sure that 01 and 04 are both connected, and they've both got to be in the same VLAN, and indeed they are. So the last thing we can check is the IP configuration of printer A. And if I go to the Ethernet interface of printer A, I do indeed see that the IP address is misconfigured, so I just have to change that, and that solves the problem for scenario 4. In scenario 5, we see that PCA cannot print to printer B. So let's test that out, and let's just identify whether the problem is in VLAN 10 or maybe further out into VLAN 20. So I'm going to ping 192.168.10.1. And I'm able to ping my router. So that means my problem is somewhere in the yellow area. So let me try to ping the other interface of router 1. 192.168.20.1. This will make sure that that router interface is up, and it will also make sure that PCA does indeed have its default gateway configured correctly. And I'm not able to ping 21, and look at this message I'm getting back. R1, 192.168.10.1, is telling me it can't get to that address. So let's look at router 1 and see what's going on with that interface. So I'm going to go to router 1, enter the command line, and I will do enable show interface gig 0/0/1. And look at this, router 1 gig 001 is administratively down. The line protocol is down, it's disabled. So the quick way to fix that is to go into global config mode, and I'll type no shutdown. And that should bring the interface up and solve this problem.